Welcome to Sanctuary, bringing you conversation and stories at the intersection of life and faith. This edition of Sanctuary is produced in cooperation with the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Sanctuary. I'm Nissan Chavkin, Executive Director of the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago. February is the heart of winter in our region, a time when most of us can look forward to having a warm place to sleep at the end of the day. Yet winter is a very hard time for thousands of people in metropolitan Chicago who are without housing, at risk of losing their housing, or staying with someone else as a last resort. Faith communities across our region offer critical direct services to help people with their housing needs. Today on Sanctuary, we're going to focus on one such program offered by Lutheran Social Services of Illinois Incorporated. This is the Homeless Outreach and Meaningful Engagement Program, or H.O.M.E. And it works on the north and northwest sides of Chicago with those who are unhoused or facing housing instability. My guest today is Harrison Morris, Supervisor of the H.O.M.E. program. And we are very excited to have you here on Sanctuary. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
To get us started, can you tell us a little bit of who you are and how you ended up at Lutheran Social Services?
Yes, I started out working in homelessness in Evanston at Homeless for Connections, Home Connections, and started there, then moved to Byron and Costner doing outreach for Hands to Help.
And that's on the northwest side?
Northwest side.
Okay.
Connections is in Evanston, then Evanston to the northwest side.
Mm-hmm.
And the state representative of the northwest side, LaPointe, started a grant for LSSI for the H.O.M.E. program. And I went there and been there a year, but been in this field for 15 years.
Cool. Very helpful. What drew you to working to help people who needed housing?
Just being around it my whole life. I was explaining, my father used to, never thought I'd be in this, but my father used to, help unhoused people stay with us when it's cold, or if it's too hot, he'll let them in a little bit, feed them.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, it started catching on. As I seen people, I didn't look at them as being unhoused, just as people that needed a little help. So I just started engaging in that, started working in park districts for the little kids, teaching them basketball, things like that, day camp. And some of the kids was unfortunate, but I treated them like they were normal and just caught on, and everything just went from there.
Wow, okay. And Lutheran Social Services is busy doing this work. What does Lutheran Social Services do?
We have over 80 buildings where we service mental health, substance abuse. We have group homes.
Group homes, okay.
And we have, we're out in Elgin, Joliet, we're all over Illinois.
Okay.
I don't know all the programs, but I know it's over 80.
Wow, and it's across the state?
It's across the state.
Okay, that's exciting. And that's, and it sounds like working particularly with folks in need.
Right, and then this year we served over 65,000. So that's like one every 212 that we see. And we try to be a one-stop shop, as I try to say this so people can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
We try to be able to serve any needs that you have. If it's homelessness, or if it's mental or substance abuse, or child mental illness.
Do you work with seniors too?
Yes, we work with seniors,
work
with all ages. We have a program that's, I'm gonna give you the number too, that they can call us a line that we, if you have any crisis, any type of crisis, we try to help. If we can't help you directly, we will try to get you to the right person that could help you.
I'm always intrigued. I mean, there's government agencies that do a lot of this work, but Lutheran and other faith-based communities are out there doing it as well. And I'm just curious, what's kind of the spiritual focus or the motivation? Why is Lutheran Services doing Lutheran services? What takes you into social services?
Because they would like to help all, not just one faith, all faith. But they figure if they can do it, then everyone else can do it. Not just focus on Lutheran, but just to let just to let everybody know that we're here and that we can help all nationalities, all races, all genders,
All faiths. Yeah.
all faith. It's not just one faith at Lutheran Social Service. We
Right.
try to bring everything together.
Right. So whoever walks through the door or whoever you touch can get help regardless.
Yeah.
And my question, I guess, is what's the grounding for that? Why do Lutherans feel like why is that important to the Lutheran community to do that, do you think?
I guess it's in the heart. It's there in them. And everyone that I've met at Lutheran Social Service, it's in them. It's not for a check. It's because they feel it in their heart and they want to give back. And they want to be able to help everyone that they can and understand what their needs are and how they can help them with anything that they need. And the faith is that we can do it. And we're not going to blame it on another faith or anything. We figure that we can do it. So we're going to try the best that we can to do it.
And to share what you have
Right.
with those who need it.
Yes.
This is a wonderful ethic and a wonderful ethos. And thinking about people who need it, and particularly the focus for our conversation today, who are the unhoused? I mean, we know we have statistics out there. There are thousands of people in the metro area who are, if they're not actually without a home, they may be couch surfing. They might be on the edge of losing their home, and so on. Who are the people who need housing in our community? Can you give us a portrait?
It's people it's not just one thing.
Okay.
We try to help them in all ways. Some is mental, some is substance abuse, some is just getting a chance. Some is...
What does getting a chance mean for a house? Tell me, please.
Because some might have bad credit.
Okay.
Some might have an eviction. So we try to middleman that for them to help them, get them a fresh start. Those little things as, I'm still waiting on my benefits. Can you help me apply or reapply? Or can you put me in the right direction? So we try to get all those things and help with those things that's holding them back. And a lot of times it's just try to help the whole person. Like, it's not, a lot of people think that, oh, since he's homeless, he want to be housed. That might be our first priority for them, but not theirs. They might be having issues with anything that we might not know of right away. So we try to focus at Lutheran Social Service is try to focus on what their immediate needs are. Like, some might need to go to a rehab or go to a nursing home. Anything that'll get them back to get their mind focused and get them ready to live their life successfully. And we don't know as people, we don't know what their needs are until they let us. We can want them to have housing, but if they're not ready, it's not gonna work. So it's about trying to get to know the person, see what their needs are, and work on those things first.
Okay, so as you move and as people come to Lutheran Social Service to get their resources, you're not necessarily sure which is the biggest priority in their minds.
Right, correct.
And sometimes their priority might be different from what you think the priority should be, right?
Correct.
And so, but they have to get all those things sorted through and organized. And how many people are we talking about that you're seeing who are affected by housing issues?
I've ran into at least 146 on the Northwest side. And we're trying to work on different parts of what they need as of right now. Some of them, as I mentioned, not ready for housing yet. So we have to get them ready. We have to do case management and understand their needs. Like, when you call intake, they ask you certain questions. You know, are you stable? Do you need help with this? Or do you need help with substance abuse? Or do you need mental health treatment? Do you need anything else, like benefits, things that the normal person won't think that, you know, it might be that they just need somewhere to sit down and think for a while, just to get to understand what's really going on. Because being on the streets is just not that easy for just to say, I just want to be homeless and not have have a mind to understand that what that person is going through. He might have just lost his father. He might have just lost his dog. He might just need counseling to get over that first. It's not just easy, and you can't just rush, well, you're homeless, so let's now get you an apartment. We need to focus on why are you in this predicament? How can we help you get out of this predicament? What are the needs that's very important to you right now?
So it sounds very centered on the person starting there and working out to wherever they need to go.
Yes.
And housing is on the path with that, but it might not necessarily be the first stop on the path, right?
Right, correct. Majority, that's not the first step. It's the other things.
The other things have put them in a place where they are at risk of or already not housed, right?
Correct.
And then they move from there. Interesting. But there's a hotline to call.
Right.
And
we have a crisis. It's our crisis hotline.
Crisis hotline.
So when you need crisis or anything.
And then they can figure out which thing they need to work on first.
And they'll put you
in touch with that. And now if someone walks into one of these 80 plus facilities across the state, they can also ask someone there when they come to Lutheran Social Services to ask and find out what's going on?
Yes.
Okay, good. And then they move through that. And as you said, you have already encountered a large group of people who need homeless issues on the Northwest side. As I understand it, there are organizations all across the city and the metro area, like in Evanston on the north side, south side, west side of Chicago, and other suburbs. We're looking at where to go and can tune into that and move forward for that. So that's terrific. What we're going to do is we're going to put a pin in this for just a second. We're going to take a relatively quick break. And then when we return, we're going to talk about what I think is a very distinct program of Lutheran Social Services of Illinois, which is the H.O.M.E program, because it does some things that people don't necessarily think about. And we'll learn more about that in just a minute. We'll be right back.
Metropolitan Chicago is one of the most religiously diverse areas in the world, and for more than a half century, Sanctuary has reported and reflected on our faith-filled community. Sanctuary tells stories of faith from both inside our houses of worship to the streets and neighborhoods where faith is acted out every day with acts of kindness and concern. From food pantries to peace initiatives, from worship services to servicing the poor, Sanctuary has a proud history of reporting on the goodness that flows from our faith traditions. Watch Sanctuary every Sunday at 12 noon.
Welcome back to Sanctuary. I'm Nissan Chafkin, and we're talking today with Harrison Morris, who's supervisor of the H.O.M.E Outreach and Meaningful Engagement Program, or H.O.M.E, a project of the Lutheran Social Services of Illinois. And Harrison, we've been talking about, in general, LSSI, and we've been talking about helping people who are unhoused or at risk of losing their housing. But what is specifically the H.O.M.E project? Who's eligible for it, and what do you do? Can you paint a picture for us?
Well, everyone is eligible. We turn no one down.
Okay. So you don't have a geographic catchment area? It's
no, if they call the 833 number, we have to serve them. But with our finances, we only supply the northwest side, the Belmont, Portage Park, and Old Irving Park area. We have two case managers, a housing coordinator, and a SOAR. The SOAR does the benefits to help them get SSI, SSDI. Our housing coordinator, we try to get a picture of how much they can afford, and we pass it on to the housing coordinator. They go out and look for apartments or anything they can find, or if SROs, what shelters are available. We have case managers that's out on the streets, on the ground working, talking with the clients, meeting them where they are. We don't wait for the calls to come in. We go right to them.
Okay, so this is one of the interesting and really distinct features of H.O.M.E is that you are many shelters and many faith communities have places where folks come for the night. They stay the night, or they stay and they have a place there, whether it's an overnight shelter or not. But they kind of wait for people to get there. And your team is going out to find people.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Correct. We're on the streets. We go out, talk to them every day, Monday through Fridays. Sometimes I even work the weekends, but don't let my wife know.
Okay.
But
our secret is safe with thousands of viewers. So,
so yeah, we're out there from 9 to 5.
Okay.
And sometimes overtime if I have to.
Okay. How big is your team? You said there were two housing coordinators, 2 case coordinators?
We have a housing coordinator, 2 case managers, and a SOAR.
Okay.
And a director, and me.
Okay. And you are out there canvassing, looking for people. And
yes.
Where do you go to find the unhoused?
In Portage Park, Old Irving Park, and Jefferson Park. I usually work the Jefferson Park by the train stations. I go to the parks.
Parks, okay.
The bus stops.
Mm-hmm.
We're just now going, we're expanding our area. So now we're going out a little farther.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Gomer Park.
Mm-hmm.
That's out there now. We're trying to reach out to them to
Okay.
encampments. We don't really, in my area, run into encampments that much. So you have to go to the side blocks, go through alleys, because a lot of people sleep in their cars. They park in the alleys. You know, they try to hide out much as they can so people won't know that they are unhoused. And we just try to meet them where they are and see what service we can bring to them before we actually get them into the building. You know, a lot of times they don't want to come to the building. You know, they want to stay where they're at because that place is their place. So we have to make sure that they still safe and we're safe and that we're doing the right thing. Like, we will go into talk to someone, like, let's go into Dunkin' Donuts and have a seat, get them a coffee, understand what's going on with them, try to get them a gift card to sit in McDonald's or Burger King, somewhere. I like to buy the gift cards and put them in the areas, to my case managers in the areas where the restaurants are. So on these type of days, they can go sit in there and buy them a meal, get warm. Because we all don't have shelters. We don't have any shelters in the Northwest side. So it's gonna be hard for me to ask this person to leave the area that they know of. So I try to get them comfortable as I can on days like this, or hot days. I try to get them a cars where they can go to the 7-Eleven, Dunkin' Donuts, anywhere they can sit down and relax for a little while.
And so 2 things there I want to follow up on. One is that you go out on the streets, you and your team, and find people, and then you help them find, you mentioned there's no shelters in that particular part of the city. Once they are ready to, once housing is the right answer for them, where do you place them? How do you do that?
Wherever they can afford, and whatever area. Like, some people say, well, I only want to live on the north side. So we try to find places on the north side that will rent to them and that they can afford. And we still do case management after we house them. We stay with them 6 to 8 months longer. We have to make sure that you can afford this going forward, because we're not going to be there for a long time. So we try to make sure with our case management and the knowledge that we give them and stay in touch with them and see how it's going, that they will be okay. So it depends on wherever they want to live. And if the ones that willing to go to a shelter for that night, we try to find a shelter that's open and we try to take them there, or we'll call 311 and try to engage with them to see if they have a shelter that we didn't know. Or sometimes other organizations like 311, they might have a
list, right,
or insight where they might give them 5 people, but but they can only have those 5. So we try to make sure we can get them housed as quickly as possible and do the case management. Even when they go to the shelter, we still have to do the case management to get them, once they get out of there, focus on what they need.
So this is not just a one-off thing of housing. Housing sounds like it's a step in the process of bringing that person to where they wish to go.
Yes.
And 6 to 8 months is a way to make sure that they can do it. And I want to return to something you had said, that it sounds like many of the people who are unhoused, you said they were hiding, that they didn't want anyone to know. Tell me more about that.
A lot of times the city, people will start calling the police on them and they will get them locked up, but they won't be able to take their stuff and their stuff will come up missing. And now some of those stuffs are cherished. They cherish those things, regardless if we look at it like it's nothing, but to them that is. Who knows if they have a picture of their dog or their mother or something. And some clients have a dog. They can't take the dog to the shelter. So why would they want to them be like, oh, well, the dog has to go, but you have to go this way. So, you know, they try to hide. And some might be just don't like the attention that everybody gives them by looking at them a certain way. Like I said, we can't treat everybody this. You can't look at a homeless person and treat them any different than you would treat somebody that you call your friend, because you don't know if in those areas, those are homeless people. Those people are probably the same people that you went to school with. You graduated. Your kids probably are playing with their kids and not knowing. So you can't just judge them like that. But if out of sight, out of mind, so they probably don't think nobody's paying attention to them. So they like to hide. And sometimes the cars, they're not legal. The stickers might be outdated. They can't get to the mission test, so they can't have the car on the main street. So they park them and hide them anywhere. And they make their tents in the back of abandoned buildings, places where people won't go so they can stash their stuff. So that's a lot of times too.
It sounds like it's so much for many people who are unhoused or at the risk of losing their housing. It's one thing that trips another thing, that leads to another thing, and suddenly things are really bad. Is that fair?
Yeah. And like I said, the mental health, the substance abuse, the reason why they have those issues are things that we have to work on as case management, on outreach and homeless, in all programs. We need to focus on what got them in that place first. Housing is first, but those other things are very, very important that they need to get situated before they can even think about housing. Because if your mental's not right, how are you going to focus to do the right thing after we're done? So we have to still help them. Like I said, we have treatment programs for whatever. We try to be a one-stop shop. So they won't have to say, oh, well, I'm going to house you, but then you have to go to all Chicago to get treatment, or you have to go over here to get that. That's too much for one person all at one time. So we try to be a one-stop shop and do everything. Why I say it like one-stop shop? So people that are listening that might be unhoused, they can understand it. Not say words that they might not understand, but if they can understand this and see this, they know that we will do everything that we can to help in any way that we can.
Right. And part of that maybe just coming to grips, as you said, with that starter problem, that thing that disrupted everything else, which can sometimes be a death in the family, it can be a loss of a loved one, it can be losing a job, anything like that, a divorce. Things like that suddenly everything is off kilter in a way.
And being only child and by themselves, parents live in another state and they don't want their parents to know. And just, it's the little things that we have to focus on first so that they can be successful going forward.
That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of a wrap-up. What can faith communities and people of faith do to help their brothers and sisters who are unhoused in the community? I mean, in a respectful way. What is it that we could do?
Listen. Listen to what the person is trying to tell you. Body language, the whole vibe, everything. Just understanding that person first. Don't look at them as an unhoused person. Look at them as a person that's in need. And try to help him. You don't have to just give him money. You can have a conversation with that person that might change his life. Not only just, oh, well, I just gave him money and he should be okay. No. He still have that problem. And us in faith and everything else, we just need to open up and understand the people that's out there that's unhoused. And be more, in fact, understand them, see what's going on. You never know what's really going on. And we need to find out first before we start judging anybody or anything. We just need to open up and find out and understand what's going on. Sit down and have a conversation with them. Not going to kill you.
That's sound advice indeed. Although listening is, as a religious leader in this town used to teach famously, listening is the hardest thing you can do. It's really hard to listen to someone carefully, right?
Carefully. That's what I'm saying. Understand that person, not just looking at them in a certain way. Because we all can be in that place in any given time. Mm-hmm. Like I explained to my unhoused people, I'm a paycheck away from being just like you guys. So don't look at me as I'm better than you. I'm here to help you any way I can. Mm-hmm. And that's all we need to do is understand them, see how we can help, and whatever people you know or places you know that they can go to, give them that information. Don't look at it like, well, I don't know. If you're walking past somebody and you be like, oh, I think he needs help. Oh, well, I know an organization over here that you might can go to. You can see if they can help you. Don't just walk past them if you can, if you see that you can help. Those little things will go a long way that a lot of people will find about other organizations that can help them, and not just say whatever, oh, I'll give you a hot meal. That hot meal too is good, but talking to him to see what else he needs is even better.
Mm-hmm. Making that human connection.
Yes.
Is at the core of the Lutheran tradition and at the core of your service and
yes.
And at the core of this remarkable program called H.O.M.E.
Yes.
Wow.
It's just to get to know this person and see what his needs are, or he or she needs are.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Harrison, thank you so much for the work that you do. And for modeling the kind of listening that is needed to hear another human being, and for sharing with our viewers this exciting program that meets people as people first, yes. And then deals with all the things that they need to do. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It is, in close, I do want to thank Harrison Morris of Lutheran Social Services of Illinois Incorporated for sharing with us this remarkable work and offering us examples we can carry into our own lives. Our thanks as well to all of you who have joined us for this episode of Sanctuary. And as we know, looking out for friends and neighbors of every tradition is never out of season. So until next time, please take good care of each other. Peace to all of us on Sanctuary.
Metropolitan Chicago is one of the most religiously diverse areas in the world, and for more than a half-century, Sanctuary has reported and reflected on our faith-filled community. Sanctuary tells stories of faith from both inside our houses of worship to the streets and neighborhoods where faith is acted out every day with acts of kindness and concern. From food pantries to peace initiatives, from worship services to servicing the poor, Sanctuary has a proud history of reporting on the goodness that flows from our faith traditions. Watch Sanctuary every Sunday at 12 noon